It's always fun to have these kinds of little bit more fun days where we can remember some of the great things that God does among us, and especially to give thanks for the kids and the learning that they're doing. It's really nice to have these fun days every now and then, a little bit of celebration, because in some ways, right, it helps us to practice and to put into our own lives this spirit that we think Christianity or Christians should model. Right? And that is this truth, this idea that it is a great joy to be Christians. And it helps us live out and practice and answer to the question of, why does Christianity ruin all the fun? Because that is a serious question for a lot of people. Especially you hit your 20s and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go to church again. I'd rather stay up all night on Saturday night, play video games, hang out with my friends, and have a good time. And I really don't want to show up for church another time. Or I really don't want to go to this religious event. I don't want to get involved in that activity. There's just so many reasons not to be a practicing Christian. And so it's really helpful, I think, to have these kinds of days where you say, what is a Christian joyful life? So today we want to simply answer the question, well, should Christianity be fun? How do we answer that accusation that Christianity takes all the fun out of life? And I want to make 3 points for us, 3 things that kind of helps you and I answer this question. Namely, first, the pursuit of fun. Secondly, the ethical straitjacket that religious practice seems to be. And then third, the removal of rules. 3 quick things. And if you can remember those, you'll be able to remember how to answer that question. Well, Christianity seems to take away all the fun. So first of all, does Christianity take away all the fun? And I would think the first thing to say is it's okay to pursue fun or happiness as a Christian. Now, Christianity is not going to get you happiness necessarily, but as you live a Christian life, it is certainly okay to pursue fun or happiness. Let's define fun this way. Fun, maybe you can define it as an enjoyable or engaging experience that brings pleasure, amusement, excitement, often involves play or social life. Now, there's a bunch of particular things in that definition, right? It is a personalized experience. It brings amusement, and it involves play or social interaction. A lot of people don't play. They don't, they kind of like, I grew out of play. And it really seems hard to imagine living a Christian life and playing. And so you're like, well, how do these things fit together, right? And it's an experience. Christianity speaks very much of truth, of ideas, of obedience. And so it's like, well, wait a second. Where does this whole thing of experience come in? How do we have an experience for our Christian life? And then lastly, it says amusement or excitement, enjoyment. You're like, well, if there's anything that is central to Christianity, it's the cross. The suffering of Jesus Christ, His death. Where's the enjoyment? Where's the pleasure in that? In fact, the biggest way that Christ calls us to emulate Him is by doing what? To take up our cross and follow Him. So you think, well, where is the enjoyment and the pleasure there? Admittedly, that's the first caveat, right? You have to say whenever you start to talk about Christianity is to say, yes, at the center of Christianity is the cross. And it is difficult to imagine how there can be play and amusement when it is a call to suffering. Part of that means that you have to have a richer and a bigger Christianity. And part of that comes from knowing how the Bible talks about fun and happiness. The other caveat you always have to say, along with saying, hey, the cross is at the center of the Christian life, is to say the Bible doesn't use the word fun or really the word happiness. The only time the Bible uses the word fun, as we might have the word fun, is when the apostles are made fun of on Pentecost because they possibly drank too much wine. I don't think that's the kind of fun that you want to have. I think being made fun of, I don't think any of us want to have that kind of fun. So if that's the fun you're looking for, that's not going to help you if you look at the Bible. That's the one time you can find fun in the Bible. There's no passages that say, go and have fun. There's no passages that say, yeah, let's just go and have a great time. In fact, the Bible doesn't even really say things like celebrate or party, other than to talk about what the people already are doing. The people already have a celebration. And then the Bible say, look, they're doing a celebration. That's how it talks. But it does say, in many ways, that there is great enjoyment and pleasure and delight in life. First example out of Jesus' life, he went to the wedding at Cana. You think, what do you do at a wedding other than have a good time? The Jews definitely had a good time. Do you know how long a Jewish wedding was? 7 days, at least. It was a big party with the family. And that was the first thing that Jesus did as part of his ministry. And the apostles and all of the writers encourage us in different ways to enjoy life. The writer of Ecclesiastes, probably Solomon, said, I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and to drink and to be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them under the sun. Now, admittedly, Ecclesiastes is challenging to read and to understand. It is full of wise thoughts that are somewhat paradoxical and sometimes even cynical. And yet, it seems that the author here is being sincere. As a thinking person, he says, in the end, you do need to simply enjoy the life that you have given to you under the sun. Don't commit yourself too much to work and to becoming successful. The Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy, also, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Right? Not just provides everything for our better life or for getting along in life, or even better, provides us with everything for our survival. He could have just written survival and that would have been okay. No, he provides us with everything for our enjoyment. What a marvel it is, what a miracle that the God of heaven and earth would actually say, you know, it's okay if you enjoy life. You're not just sent here to be my slaves. And there's passages that go on like this. Jesus himself said, the thief comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. It's hard to imagine exactly what Jesus meant with this idea of a full life, but everybody agrees that to some extent at least, it means that we would enjoy the life that we've been given. The fruit of the Spirit is love and joy. Jesus answered, how can the guests of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? They can't, so long as they have him. The time will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and then they'll fast. And he means to say, as long as you have Christ in your life, you have a good reason to enjoy the celebration. So we could go on. There's all kinds of passages that tell us that we can enjoy the good things that we have been given. I have told you this so that your joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. There's great gain in godliness with contentment. The joy of the Lord is their strength. I could go on. The point is that while God never stops and says, just go have fun, party your life away, Christianity is always a good time, God also has put many ways into his word to encourage us in enjoyment of what he has given. Now, that is definitely something that's much more caught than taught and is harder than you might think. I spent probably 10 years, maybe 15 years of my life denouncing happiness. I literally would say, I don't think happiness is important, or happiness doesn't matter. And you might think, first of all, that seems really strange, Pastor. You seem like mostly a happy person. Maybe I don't seem happy to you. If I don't seem happy to you, I apologize. I like to try to be at least somewhat of a happy person. And I don't think I'm known for being too much of a crank. But then you might also say to yourself even, it's really strange because who would ever walk around saying happiness doesn't matter? And the answer is Midwestern German Lutherans and their Norwegian and Swedish and Danish friends. Do you know, if you look at research and at the surveys, some of the least happy people in the world live where? Right here in the Midwest. Why do you think some of the highest places of drinking in the world are right here in the Midwest? People in Wisconsin tend to drink like 3 times as much as everybody else in the nation. We are not good at having an enjoyable time. And we need assistance often to get there. I'm glad that some of you have a good time, and maybe some of you need to consider what God has said in His Word as a call to sacrifice and take that more seriously. But some of us, and today I want to talk to those of us who take our lives perhaps a little bit too seriously, it might need to say, hey, the Lord has given us good things in life that we might enjoy them and take delight in them. And there is something to be said for happiness in what we have been given. If somebody has said to you, why can't you just be happy sometimes? Maybe that is a call to repentance that you need to hear. People have pointed that out to me at times, and you might think, well, that's a silly thing. Happiness doesn't get me anywhere in life. Success is important. Virtue and ethics are important. Doing the right thing is important. Why would happiness be important? Answer that. Why would happiness be important alongside success, alongside virtue and ethics, alongside doing the right thing, righteousness? Why is it? Why might happiness, delight, joy be important? I was struck, Pascal said, all men seek happiness without exception. They all aim at this goal, however different the means they use to attain it. They will never make the smallest move, but with this as its goal. Maybe he's not 100% correct, but the scriptures tell us the joy of the Lord was the strength of the people of Nehemiah's age. There is definitely something to be said that in eternity, our lives will be filled with delight in God. I have no doubt that we will also be productive, and that we will be righteous, and that at least some of us will be successful in whatever way eternity defines success, and you'll have vigor and integrity and righteousness and honor and truthworthiness, all of those things. But if you're not happy doing those things, then you won't belong in eternity. God only takes people who delight in Him and delight in His goodness with Him into that eternity. And so there has to be some serious thought put into this truth, into this point that says, happiness is okay. It has to be part of Christianity. Second thing, though, that we then need to consider and put on this morning is this idea that Christianity, that there is an ethical straitjacket, right? That the rules and regulations of Christianity are some kind of ethical straitjacket. And the point needs to simply be said that the rules and regulations, or the ethical straitjacket of Christianity, are guidelines and guardrails to an enjoyable life. The accusation, it shows up like this, right? If people want to be thoughtful about it, they say, in Christianity, the Bible and the church seem to basically dictate to everyone what Christians must believe, feel, and do. There's no room or encouragement for people to make their own moral decisions or to think out their beliefs or patterns of life for themselves. Sometimes the accusation simply shows up like this, that everybody else is having a lot more fun in life. If you take your Christian faith seriously, you end up feeling like everybody else is out having the time of their lives, and annoying Christians are trying to control us. It crassly shows up as what? It's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. Maybe if people have said that. You've heard that. People have said to me, better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. So how do you answer that criticism? Well, it is very significant to consider this. This is much more difficult to answer because it requires a profound understanding of our day and our age, and it also requires a really significant understanding of sociology and anthropology, right? Who are we? What are we made to do? What is the world and the culture like? There is so much that shows just how difficult it is to understand what it is to be a human. We are living at one of the richest times in the history of the world. If you live in America, you live in one of the safest places that the world has ever seen. If you are an American citizen, you have multiple times the net worth of every other human being on the planet. It is so incredibly good to be an American in the 21st century. I mean, all you have to do is look at the people who want to come in, whether or not you think that they should be here, and you can see that. And yet, why is it that in such a time in history, almost 1 out of every 3 Americans, really it's almost 1 out of every 2, is suffering from a diagnosable anxiety disorder? 1 out of almost every 2. Why has there been a 300% increase in dysphoria in the last, say, 7 to 10 years? Why is opioid addictions rising at a staggering, breathtaking level? Why are deaths of despair the largest rising group of death in America right now? You see this? Drugs cause that many deaths, and it's definitely spiked a lot recently. Alcohol is a problem, suicide. But do you see that the largest, it's probably hard for you to see, especially from the back, the gray line, the largest spike in deaths recently in America? Deaths of despair. People who say, my life is worthless, life is pointless, I can't do this, and I'm simply giving up. They don't commit suicide, they just die out of despair. It has risen 2 or 3 times as much as everything else in the last few years. Christianity requires that you and I understand life. And it speaks into this chaos to try to give us some amount of rules or guidelines, you could say, to live a good life. You have to be able to answer questions like, how do I use money? How should I handle sex? How do I learn how to behave with truth towards other people? How do I deal with good relationships? How do I use technology? If you can't answer those things, then you will have ruined your life. It's really easy to give a quick illustration of this. What you need to do is understand how to use your body and use the world around you. Imagine that you're part of the team that has to build the Chevy Corvette. Very cool car. My kids and I were all like hyped up about the Corvette right now. We'd love to have ourselves a little Corvette. Now, that Corvette needs a road to drive on. It will not drive on water. It also will not fly. Similarly, that Corvette needs gasoline in the engine. You can try to plug it in, still not going to go very far. You can't put ethanol or sucrose into the engine. It's not going to get you anywhere. It only works in a certain way. And in the same way, you have to know the rules of your body and the rules of this world. They only work in a certain system. And this is why Christianity often feels like a straitjacket. It gives you these rules and these guidelines for life. And we need to consider them. The psalmist writes, "The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart." Timothy, the Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy, "We know that the law is good if one uses it properly." This is the second great answer to the question of, why does Christianity take all the fun out of life? Christianity doesn't try to take all of the fun out of life. What Christianity does is gives rules, guidelines, and precepts to follow. for a good life, for a useful life of the body. And you will never be able to enjoy the Chevy Corvette if you fill the engine up with sugar water. It won't go anywhere. If you fill up your own life with sugary, watery junk from the world, your life too won't go anywhere. You might be able to burn it for a little bit, but then it will burn out. The last thing, though, that God lets us say to answer this question of, why does Christianity take all of the joy, all of the fun out of life, comes from Jesus himself in our words today. Jesus showed us through the Apostle Peter and the Gentiles that he has not actually brought us more rules. Rather, what he has done for us is he has set us free from the rules. Now, there's a lot of Christians, a lot of us that don't like to hear that. But the Apostle Paul put it this way. He said, Christ is the culmination of the law, so that there might be righteousness for everyone who believes. The Apostle Paul put it this way. He said, we know the law is not made for the righteous, but for lawbreakers and rebels. Christ has fulfilled and completed the law. And Christianity is the only religion and the only way of life in the world that says to us, I'm not here to give you more rules that you have to obey to prove how good you are. I'm not here to give you more rules so that you can win my blessing and approval. I am literally here to tell you that the rules have been completed for you. Christ is the culmination of the law. There is not a single rule or law that you have to fulfill to win God's approval or blessing. I like to kind of think about it this way. Imagine I've got myself a little homework sheet. Got my numbers. I need to learn my numbers sheet. And I'm not very good at my numbers, but I'm going to find somebody who is good at my numbers. And so I ask and say, can you do my numbers for me? Please circle 17 pets on this page. Yeah, circle 17 pets. I can't do it. I don't know my numbers. You got to circle 17 pets for us. Otherwise, I'm going to fail. I'm not very good at my numbers. Do we got 17 yet? Wow, there's a lot of pets on that page.
Oh, I got these all these.
You only need one more. I'm not very good at my numbers, but I can count. Whew. Thank goodness you did that for me, because, man, I am not good at my numbers. If I had to do this myself, I would fail, and I would never be able to say, well done. See, now I can get an A. Now I've got myself the A. A plus good job. My homework has been done well. Now, you all laugh, but is your homework done well? Have you done that good job with your life? Christianity lets us say Christ is the culmination of the law. The page has already been turned in. Jesus has filed the homework with God to say, I did it all perfectly in their place. I did every little bit of it well for them. There is no obligation, there is no responsibility, there is no duty that you have to do that has not been done well. It's all done for you. Jesus turned in the homework page for you. And maybe that is more freedom than your little life can handle. Maybe that is too much of a blank page, because it means that whatever the Lord gives you to do, you can do it. And you can do it confidently that it is all done. And if that means building your dream house so that your family and your kids have a place to stay, then God bless it, and may it go well. And if that means making a business that you can pass on to your kids and your grandkids so that they have a place to serve the world, then may the Lord grant you all of the riches along the way. And if that means living in a tent out in the woods where you can enjoy the peace and the quietness of God's world, then may that also be so. But don't do it because you feel like it's the right thing to do. Don't do it because you have to do it. Don't do it because in any way God needs it done for you. You need to do it. God needs it done from you. Don't do it in any way because you're trying to make things right, or you're trying to fix the world, or you're trying to make Him happy, or you're trying to make anybody else happy. If you're doing it for any of those reasons, you're not counting the homework done. He is the culmination of the law, the fulfillment. He did it all, so there is no obligation on you. Whatever you do is simply because the Lord has called you into love for others. And may He richly bless you as you do so. Let's enjoy that.